Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Daphne Lage here. Join Nita Lanning and me on the Ragin' to the Vlogs show, where we talk about everything, nothing, and all the bits in between. Looking for hour-long conversations about indie comics, social media marketing, and crowdfunding, with the occasional rant and story time? Head on over to the Ragin' 2 channel on YouTube, Mondays through Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern to join in the chat.
Hit the button.
And good Saturday evening to you. Man, I look so dark every single time I turn this on. Oh, look, there's light back here. Yes, I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor at CriticalBlast.com, Chief Envelope Licker for Critical Blast Logistics, Receptionist for Critical Blast Consulting, and Myopic Proofreader for Critical Blast Publishing. If we can find any more spokes to stick into that wheel, believe me, we will. Tonight, we are going to go back to our forte of looking at crowdfunded comic books on the crowdfunding platforms that exist, both Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Tonight, we are in Indiegogo. Roy, it's not a race, man, but we're glad you're here. There's no prizes, though. Sorry about that. There's nothing that can give you for being first. Just glad that you're here watching us. Tonight, we are going to go into a dark realm of the Forbidden Museum. And with us, we have Professor Craig Sawyer to tell us about this. Craig, how old? Yeah. Oh man, I should have been a little bit more proactive on my intro.
Hey man, how are you
doing? I'm doing good. You're a big Scream fan, aren't you? I mean, I don't mean the franchise, but maybe you are. But
horror. Oh yeah, well, horror in general, man. I'm a big classic monster gothic fan, like the Hammer horror series from the Great Britain, they used to produce over there, and like classic Universal monsters, man. So Forbidden Museum is all that in a bag of chips, and it's my dream project.
It looks very interesting and very cool. I missed the first one. I'm here for the second one, and let's pop the top on this thing and bring it up onto the stream here because okay, so dream project, how long have you had this dream?
So, like I said, I've watched horror movies my whole life, the old school horror movies, and I kept waiting in bated anticipation for Universal to relaunch their Dark Universe so I could go back and visit, so we could have Dracula again. And I kept waiting, they kept failing. And I'm like, well, most of these monsters are public domain, if I rebooted that into a shared monster universe, how would I do it? And how I would do it is I would have Dracula not defeated by his hunters, Quincy Morris, Van Helsing, Mina Harker, and Jonathan Harker back in Bram Stoker's Dracula, but I would have him imprisoned in his coffin using forbidden Egyptian magic from the Book of the Dead. Yes. So you imprison Dracula, and not only Dracula exists in the world of Forbidden Museum, but also other primordial prime evils, such as the Mummy King, the Gill God, Frankenstein's monster, the Wolf Beast. So Jonathan Harker and crew travel the world and imprison all these monsters. But what do you do with monsters? What do you put them? You can't keep them in your backyard in the tool shed.
No.
So you build a Forbidden Museum miles underneath the British Museum, and you put the monsters in there, and you seal it with the forbidden magic. Now, fast forward to present day, Jonathan Harker's great grandson, Henry Harker, is a amateur archaeologist, podcaster, adventurer, and he's been searching for his grandfather's museum, thinking he's going to find priceless antiquities or bragging rights for a good podcast. And what he finds is a magical prison for monsters. And he unleashes these monsters upon the world again. So
I am, this is the one thing that creators hate to hear, is that this sounds exactly like, but it doesn't. But it puts me in mind of something I used to watch on Saturday mornings when I was a kid, back when Saturday morning cartoons were a thing.
Yeah.
There was a live action half-hour show starring Fred Grandy before he went Love Boat called The Monster Squad.
Oh, okay.
And he was a nighttime curator at the Wax Museum, but he wanted to be a criminologist. He built this crime computer that in his spare time, while he was on the job. And when he fired it up, the vibrations from the computer brought to life the wax statues of Dracula, the werewolf, and Frankenstein's monster.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And it turned out they were the real things. And wanting to make up for their past misdeeds, they became the Monster Squad and would go out and fight other monsters for justice whenever he brought them to life. And they'd go back to being wax statues during the day.
Well, these monsters don't want justice. In fact, the museum always has to have a cursed curator. And so Henry Harker's partner betrays him, locks him in a sarcophagus, and he takes all the items and the monsters and he bounces. And inside the sarcophagus is the old cursed curator who passes on the curse. It's a scarab beetle that attaches itself to Henry Harker's chest. And now Henry Harker's got the strength of 10 men, doesn't need to drink, doesn't need to eat. He has his great-grandfather's money to hunt this down, but he's slowly rotting through the process of the series. And he has to get all the monsters and items back to the museum, or this curse will last forever and he'll rot into nothingness. And Dracula is looking for the Book of the Dead as well to control the Mummy King, to bring about this prophecy of darkness upon the world. And he's utilizing the other monsters to get that book from Henry Harker. So you're going to go in issue 2, you're going to go to the Amazon, you're going to go to Egypt. So it's kind of got that Indiana Jones kind of globetrotting vibe to it too as well.
I love it. So were all the monsters captured, or are there sort of like in Neil Gaiman's American Gods? There were the old gods, but then we made new ones. So have new monsters sprung up from modern urban legends, like chupacabras and such like that?
Well, you're jumping ahead to the down the road, but so
I play with the world that you put in front of me, man.
No, exactly. So that's it's going to go in the series. Like, there's an extra monster that I haven't told anybody about yet, and it's a hint early on that the original curator was hired by a man named Griffin, and you know who that is, right?
Yeah, he's played by John Cena. You can't see him.
Yeah, exactly. So the Invisible Man comes to play in this too down the road, and so this is going to go in. And I thought about that too. I thought about when he collects these monsters, are there other primeval springing up after this? This is an ongoing series. So,
good to hear.
So we're going to do the classic monsters first, but I've often thought about, let's bring in like modern creatures like the Mothman later on and other things like that. Would be interesting for him to have to hunt down, or maybe there'll be a new curator down the road after
there's more monsters and he continues to rot. You're going to need one soon enough.
Yeah, right. So he needs to get the job done fairly quick. So yeah.
And I would, it's your world, man. I'm sorry, but I would guess every time he learns,
I love it.
If he learns there's a monster out there like the Mothman, he's like, I've got to go after him. To do that, I'm going to need to have the strength of 10 men, put the beetle on.
Hold on. I'm still here.
There you are.
I'm using my phone today and just had it set up. There we go. There was an earthquake. It's all good.
But I can imagine now you're gone. Okay, so everybody, while we're talking about this, the link for Forbidden Museum #2 is right below the video, and it's also pinned to the top of the chat. So you can click on this at any time, and I do urge you to. We're going to take a look at some of the tiers that are on here. Yeah, now you're gone, but you're back.
I'm not.
These darn
My
phones.
dog hit the desk with my camera set on it, so it had a little minor earthquake. So it's good.
Okay. I was just taking advantage of the opportunity to let people know the link to the campaign is below the video and pinned to the top of the chat. Two opportunities to get on this thing. So yeah, if he's got to go after another monster, I'd say he'd probably, say, well, I've got to beetle up, and, die a little bit more in order to save the world from this thing. Yeah. So why in the world are you doing this as a comic book? I mean, what is it that drove you to do it as a comic?
Well, I'm a writer. I write prose too. I've wrote a lot of short stories that's been published in the past couple of years, and I just wrote my first novel. I don't know. Comic books have always been a love of mine, and I can kind of see this one day as hopefully maybe being a TV series or a movie, and it's a good story to visualize. I mean, all these monsters and going to the Amazon jungle and going to Egypt, and fighting mummies and the Frankenstein's monster. I thought I've made a few comics in the past and really got into that method of storytelling. And I just thought, man, this is the perfect story to tell in a comic book form. And it's a big, it's a great medium to work with, like on Kickstarter. Comic books are kickstarting right and left, on Kickstarter right now. It's a big thing. So
every year.
Yeah, exactly. So although I love prose and love writing, I think sometimes it's easier to sell a visual product or get that out the door a little bit than selling like a novel sometimes. You have to build up more of a following a little bit.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier in the broadcast that the universal monsters, the characters themselves are public domain. The misnomer here that a lot of people don't get is that the universal monsters are not public domain. Those specific versions of them, the way they look, like the flat-topped head Frankenstein and such. So what did you what steps did you do to make your characters distinctive enough to know that's who they were, but different enough that we're not Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff? Yeah,
the rendition, like you can't put the bolts in the side of the neck, and stuff like that, and the flat and that look. Absolutely, you can't copy that look. But Frankenstein's monster in the novels and Dracula in the novels are very different than what Universal did. I don't think they've been portrayed exactly the way they were written. Dracula was described. Have you read Bram Stoker's Dracula? Have you read it before?
Been a long time. I recall it being very epistolary. I'm like, he's like writing this letter while he's running away.
Yeah, it's written like a journalist almost. But this is a great. If you ever get a chance to do this version, this is the Leslie S. Klinger's Anointed Dracula, and it kind of it writes it. He wrote it like it really happened, almost like a history book. But he goes through and explains kind of like archaic words. I think my light's possessed in the office, but yeah, it's a great book. If you guys get a chance to check that out.
Yeah, Klinger's work is great. He did an annotated Sandman, and he emailed me about that because there was a chapter in Sandman where we go into the Library of Dreams, and there was a book on the shelf called Alice's Journey Beyond the Moon, and I decided to write that book.
That's awesome.
It was my first published novella.
Congrats.
I'm
That's
familiar
awesome,
with work.
Yeah. Props. It's not easy to write a novel or a novella.
No, it's not. It takes stick-to-itiveness, butt in chair, 1,000 words a day, whether they're good or not.
Exactly. Well, the first draft of anything's shite, right? Usually.
Oh yeah. Well, my good friend who writes the angst novels, David Peterson, he's got the shirt and the motto that says, "Write drunk, edit sober."
Yeah, that's kind of the way of saying write for yourself first, and then write for the audience second. That's just kind of the same vibe. Getting back to what I was talking about, Dracula and in the literary versions, is like Dracula was described as like an older man with a mustache, and Stoker's Dracula. And what people don't know, and what I've kind of incorporated with my Dracula, is Dracula was a necromancer in Stoker's Dracula that sought out a school of black magic in the Carpathian Mountains and studied with the teacher who was the devil. And now this is in Stoker's Dracula. And he pretty much has insinuated that he took over the moniker of Vlad Tepes, Dracula, and became that he was actually a black magician. And that's how he turned into a bat or turned into mist. He was using black magic to do that. And he became
part of being a vampire was just something else in addition to the vampirism.
Well, he became like a lich or or an equivalent to that through the use of black magic and being cursed.
It's more powerful, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's kind of I'm taking that kind of take with my character of Dracula. And with my Frankenstein, I always found it interesting, like, I love Marvel comics growing up, and I always liked the Incredible Hulk, and originally the original incarnation of the Incredible Hulk, he was gray, and at night he would become the Hulk.
Yeah,
and then it was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. So like Marvel kind of ripped off the Universal monsters and the literary, Gothic horror monsters, So I thought it'd be interesting if Frankenstein, if Igor saved Dr. Frankenstein by putting his brain in Frankenstein's body, and they're kind of a dual personality. And by night, he's Frankenstein's monster, and by day, he's intelligent, and he's Dr. Frankenstein in the same body. And I thought that'd be a nice duality to that character.
I like that a lot. I don't have the shirt on tonight. I was wearing the shirt yesterday for Confederate Monster, which was another crowdfunded Frankenstein book from earlier this year, where Igor flees to America, which happens to be in the middle of the Civil War. And somebody figures out, oh, yeah, you know how to do this thing, make it happen. And as it does, the other characters start to show up. But and I say that just to say that there is a hunger out there for these Universal monster characters in the readership to come back. Yeah.
And that's another reason why, number one, I've done several comics, but for something that is kind of like tapped into the zeitgeist of what people want right now. People love horror movies, but there's something about these archetypes of a werewolf, a mummy, these classic Gothic monsters that people are really hungry for. And, nothing's new under the sun. I mean, you can take a look at The Walking Dead. It's about zombies. And so I don't think everything's kind of borrowed a little bit. But I really put a spin on this. I'm like, how can these monsters come together? And why are they coming together? And I thought the Forbidden Museum is a pretty good backdrop for the reason why this is happening. And then you have Henry Harker, who's kind of like us. He's kind of he's the protagonist and kind of the audience, kind of experiencing this crazy world. Because at first, being cursed, not having to eat or drink, and having the strength of 10 men sounds fun at first. And then you realize it's not a blessing or superpowers. You're cursed. And I think that's why the original Universal monster movies are so cool, is like these characters seem tortured. Like, Lon Chaney Jr. in The Wolfman, he was a tortured, cursed character. And it's kind of sad. You felt sorry for him a little bit. And so
I just had the opportunity 2 months ago. Universal released their 4-pack of their Universal monsters on DVD. So I got to watch again Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and the Invisible Man, all 4 of them in one. I still haven't found a DVD of my absolute favorite Universal monster movie that brought them all together. Probably the best Universal horror monster movie was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
I love the Abbott and Costello movies. Yeah, they're awesome, man.
It brought them all together. It brought Bela Lugosi, and it brought Lyle Talbot. Not Lyle Talbot. That's the actor, but the character Talbot, who was the Wolfman. And Boris Karloff was the monster. It was like they were all there.
It's cool, man. Did you see recently? There's an awesome Boris Karloff documentary that has dropped. I think it's on Prime, but check it out, man. It is an amazing retrospective of Boris Karloff, and told me things that I didn't even know about the man. Very interesting guy. Boris
I
Karloff.
saw his last film very recently. George Peter Gatzis runs a YouTube channel where he's taking all these public domain movies and they kind of do the riff track thing to it. He also cleans them up. Boris Karloff's last movie, I believe, was The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini.
Hey, a man's got to pay the bills.
You got to eat, man.
Got to eat, dude. So I'm not hating on him, but I don't think those monsters would have. I don't think the Mummy and Frankenstein would have had such a kind of a resounding effect on people, and that timeless effect if it wasn't that man's soul in those monsters. Like there was something very.
You felt sorry for him.
Graceful about him, sad. There was a sadness to him, and like he had a stare like nobody's business, man. That first intro in The Mummy, where it comes up on the mummy's face and the eyes open, shit, man. That was. Yeah. I bet back then it scared the bejesus out of people in the 30s.
Yeah. Oh, the 30s especially. I mean, some of the stuff they did in the 30s with monster movies, we haven't touched. Nosferatu. I mean, come on, Max Schreck.
That was like 1914, wasn't it? Like it was even earlier than that, I think. Yeah, it was like the thing about it is back then you didn't have CGI to hide behind. You actually had to have a good performance, and you had to have good lighting, atmospheric lighting. You had to like tell a good story and engage an audience. There's another movie, and if you love the monster movies and the history of them, but put the accent on the wrong syllable. I think it's Shadow of the Vampire, and it's a mockumentary about the making of Nosferatu. Oh, yeah. It's got why is his name slipping my mind? The Green Goblin in it.
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe. Why did I forget Wilhelm Dafoe? Yeah, he was amazing in that. And there was another version of Nosferatu in the 70s that was pretty amazing too. A British actor was in it. His name's slipping my mind too. But yeah, Nosferatu, the original one, is spooky, man. Just the way it's shot. It's just.
And I just love the conceit that it worked so well because Max Schreck really was a vampire. I was like, that's a good twist.
Like, are you so method? He's like, yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was really good. What's any movies recently that blew your mind, like horror movies?
Oh,
that you did?
Well, I don't think we have good horror movies anymore like that because all our horror movies are slashers. Some guy goes nuts and he kills people with a chainsaw or with elaborate traps or with a cleaver. Like where's the guy who transforms into something that he doesn't want to transform into? The person who becomes a vampire, the person who becomes a werewolf, the person who becomes undead. Jason looks like he's having a hell of a time when he does this thing.
He takes enjoyment out of it, where the opposite is like you have to kill, but you don't want to kill is a more interesting conundrum, right?
Absolutely.
But I don't know. Maybe we'll get, things got to get really bad before they get good. Maybe we're on the precipice of a golden age of monster movies coming out.
Well, maybe you're ushering in with this.
Maybe Forbidden Museum will be a movie soon or a TV series. But
it's got franchise written all over it to me.
I write screenplays too, like Universal, Paramount, Peacock, one of the million apps channels. Hit me up, man. I got some content for you. I got a lot of content.
Netflix is just throwing money around. Hit them up, send them a comic book.
Exactly.
Roy Draws has a question. He wants to know if you've checked out any Asian horror and what you think about that.
Asian horror is I think Korean horror is kicking ass right now. Train to Busan. Whoa, man. Have you seen Train to Busan?
I have heard of it just recently. I think I heard that it was referenced in another movie. So I need to see that.
That
I know
movie
Squid Game was really emotional, but
that's what I call a white knuckle movie. And I like to get into movies. I mean, if a movie sucks, I can't get into it. But if I'm in it, I'm in it. Like, I'm like, Train to Busan is like one of the best. Right when I think I'm so sick of zombie movies, don't give me another zombie movie. Like something like Train to Busan comes out and like blows your mind. Like it's a great zombie flick. one of the best I've ever seen. I'll put it out there like that. One of the best I've ever seen. So check out that. But Asian horror in general, Japan's got a lot of great horror movies. You know, they have for years, man. There's a movie called The Audition that is wickedly will scar your soul. You know, you watch that, and that came out a while back. But a lot of great movies from that, you know, from Asia.
Comics Day recommending the I'm going to screw this up. Junjie Ito Collection.
Okay, great. Is that a recent? It's a comic book.
No, it's it's a Japanese horror collection. I'm
okay.
assuming it's new. There is a comic book. Looks like Narwhal has just launched a campaign based on the Nosferatu story. So there's a Nosferatu comic coming out.
Oh, cool.
I think I've seen pictures of that too. Let's take a look at some of the tiers on this thing because, well, you know, we can look at are you your own artist or did you hire an artist?
No, I can draw, but I can't draw as fast and as good as these guys. So my art team is stellar, man. So the guy right here is Poet Calzada. He's a Mexican artist, and he's known for horror, and he's awesome. He's doing the cover for issue 2. Issue 1 was done by an American artist named Tom Mandrake, who worked on Grim Jack series, the Spectra for DC Comics. He's an amazing guy. And interiors is done by kind of a new kid on the block, but it's going to be a giant in the industry one day, is a guy named Luke Archie. Luke Archie's a recent graduate of the Joe Kubert School out of New Jersey.
Sure.
And I was lucky enough to do a comic based on the Rifleman series. I don't know if you remember the Rifleman TV series from the 50s. Chuck Connors, man. So ironically, my girlfriend's grandfather produced the Rifleman. And one day I saw a picture, somebody sent a photo in of Chuck Connors, and it was Luke Archie. And I'm like, you know what? I pitched making a comic book, kind of a Sunday comic series, like Sunday newspaper comic series. And we did that and released it on the internet for Further Adventures of the Rifleman. And we did that for about a year. And they're going to come out with a printed book of that. But then Luke and me stayed in contact, and I was like, man, I got this great idea. You love monsters, like Forbidden Museum. So I pitched that to him, and he's like, hells yeah, man, let's do this. And me and Luke has been partners in crime on Forbidden Museum since then.
Comics Made Sense that the Junjie Ito Collection is a manga and a show, as well as a motion comic on YouTube. So that is
awesome. I'll check it out. That's awesome. So day one, man, we broke $1,000. It's been really well received the first day. Like, and I got hit up a lot. Yeah. Cool. So you can get issue 1, you can get issue 2, you can get a bundle of those. We have different tiers that include variants from issue 1 by an artist named Gabrielle Dell'Otto, who is one of the most sought after comic book artists right now in the world. He's worked for Marvel and DC, and we have a limited amount of those, but they're huge collector items. They're selling on eBay right now I've seen one for $100, and for an issue 1 of a comic book, indie, that's pretty amazing. But it's probably because of him. It's not because, but little do you know, there's a great story in there too. So
bonus, yeah.
Yeah, bonus, right?
So the first day's passed, so the Dracula pin no longer a thing that you can get, unless you know what?
If people purchase in the next week and they put in the purchase Critical Blast, I saw you on Critical Blast, I'll give them a pin still.
There you go, guys. I'm gonna have to get a pin now. I collect pins. I collect stickers. I collect refrigerator magnets.
Oh, me too.
So that all the tchotchkes that come with the crowdfunding.
I'll give you a tour of the office.
Well, let me give you the big screen. Sweet stuff there. Oh, I love it. He's coming right through the wall.
Yeah, so I got actually a signed Rico Browning creature in the Black Lagoon who actually was in the suit for the movie, which is pretty rad. I'm a big creature fan, so this issue is like pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
That's a sweet looking collection there.
So yeah, I'm a horror guy. I love sci-fi too, but horror is my jam for sure.
Oh, I've got to get you hooked up with Brian Christgau. Who does Six Gorilla. He's also a huge horror fan. And in fact, I don't know how many shows you've been on to promote this, but the one guy you've absolutely got to get in touch with. I can't say it right now. I forget people's names all the time, and it sucks.
It's Saturday. My brain was like, "Oh, we're working today. We have to think today." I'm like, "Yes,
yeah,
yes,
I know.
Yes, you do."
I had his name in my mind here just a second ago. It's like, oh, I got to tell him, get on this guy's show. I will remember it in a minute.
Well, you had Steve and Crypto on recently from the Steve and Crypto show, and they told me about you. They're like, "Oh, you would get along with this guy really well. You should do his show."
Well, I try to get along with everybody. Graham Nolan. The guy
I've
who
heard of
created
Graham
Bane.
Nolan. Okay.
Yeah, he created Bane with Chuck Dixon.
I got you. Okay.
He's doing crowdfunded comics himself, but he also runs a YouTube channel where he does like the 30 Days of Halloween. He's a huge Universal monster and monster movie fan.
Awesome.
You guys would be able to talk some serious history, and get into the monsters while promoting your book. So
I would love
if
to.
you haven't talked to him, you need to. Let's see. You can get the digital of number 2 for only $5, which is actually a really good deal. I'm not a digital guy. I know plenty of people in our chat are. They have to. If you work out in the field somewhere in the Arctic Circle, you have a guy who does that. You don't exactly have long white boxes in your tent. So
I come from the school too. I want to hold something in my hands, but I have watched a few digital comics, looked at them, and the colors on them are beautiful though. Like the true colors, like print takes away some of the color, I think. But sometimes a digital comic has a beautiful representation of the original artwork. But I read real books. It's hard for me to get into that digital mode because I just didn't grow up with it very much.
I can't read digital books either. It's like it just tires my eyes out. I'm like, I want to stick my hand in there and lay a piece of paper where I was and come right back to it.
Well, I'm a page sniffer too, man. I like smelling books. I like the scent of a good book.
Nothing like the smell of old paper.
Right.
Either one.
All right.
I've got when I did the research on the Alice book here, I got some really, really old books for research. I got like a 1940s version of Lewis Carroll's or Charles Dodgson's actual diary because I was pulling information like that. I was like, this is sweet stuff.
That's awesome, man.
So I'm going to scroll left and right here. If I scroll far enough, the tiers are probably going to be seen in bigger pictures down here anyway on the left-hand side. I'm pointing to the monitor like you can all see that. But we'll just look at the left-hand side for right now and then go to the right if we need to.
So question for you. Who is your favorite classic monster?
Oh, my favorite classic monster? Probably the Invisible Man.
Oh, okay.
Because he makes me think.
Man, it was Claude Rains, right? Claude Rains is awesome.
And all he had to do was voice it.
I know, but the special effects in that for its time were pretty phenomenal. Not bad, and like his voice is just perfect for that, for sure. Did you like the new Invisible Man movie that came out from Blumhouse?
I haven't seen the newest one. I think the last one I saw was Hollow Man.
Hollow with Kevin Bacon. Yeah. That was pretty good.
They all have a lesson in it, which is, if man could do anything with no repercussions, what would he do? Well, he would do bad things, apparently.
Well, it's the story of Icarus, right? You fly too high, you get your wings burned, and that's kind of the.
Exactly. I like things like the Invisible Man and George R.R. Martin, the guy who did
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I think it actually was. He did Wild Cards for a while.
Oh yeah, I remember. I used to read a lot of those novels back in high school. Yeah. Wild Cards was an awesome series, and it was kind of like, it kind of reminded me of The Boys a little bit, in that respect, and just this crazy. What if superheroes were real people, and what would they do? Kind of the vibe,
Exactly.
and kind of Watchman vibe to it. It was good. It was.
Yeah, and
why hasn't that been made into a movie or a TV series yet? I wonder.
I don't know. Has he finished it?
Yeah, has he finished? George, somebody needs to chain him up to a desk and say, right, like in Misery, right,
Yeah.
right
Tick,
now.
George TikTok. But he applied physics in a way that I hadn't thought of before. Now it made the Invisible Man one of my more favorite characters because I'm waiting for somebody to do it right. And let's see, he's invisible because light is passing through him. He's been made transparent. All the pigmentation's gone, what have you. And George realized that if light's passing through you and not bouncing off of you, it's also not bouncing off of your retinas, which is what allows you to see.
Yeah.
So the Invisible Man is blind when he's invisible. So his character had to memorize a room, then get naked and go invisible into it and navigate it blind to pull off whatever he needed to pull off invisibly.
That makes perfect sense, and I like it because it's your kryptonite. You have this power, but at the same time, it's going to make you blind while you have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that.
So the whole reason I wanted to be the Invisible Man in high school has been obliterated.
I can't stick around and look at girls undressing in the locker room. Yeah,
Exactly.
So,
But you just took away the fun of it. It's just like one of those monkey paw wishes. Like, I wish I could turn invisible. Crap! This doesn't work the way I wanted it to.
you got to make some kind of glasses that can refract light into your invisible retinas somehow. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's same thing works with the Harry Potter cloak of invisibility. You can't see out of it because the light's going around you and through you.
Because you're actually invisible. Well, you're not using something to make you like. If you had something around you that was invisible, that you actually could see still, that would fix that. But yeah, you're actually invisible. It's not going to be good. So,
You're like wearing a suit that is cameras on both sides and projectors on both sides. So you're like, we're going into science fiction now. But yeah, an invisible suit that you can still see pinhole things out of.
I don't know if it's that far, is science fiction yet or not. I saw someone talking about a jet that the military is supposed to have that shoots cameras. It has mini cameras all over the base of it, and it records whatever's around it. So the clouds around it. So it puts it back into the mirror reflects it back onto the hull, whatever the cameras are shooting, and you become invisible.
That would do it. I mean, you just take what's behind you, project it in front of you. You're invisible.
So I'm wondering what does the military actually have? I'm wondering. So they say the military, technology-wise, the United States military is 50 years ahead of civilian technology. 50 years.
Yeah. It's I visited my niece. God, it was almost 20 years ago. She was just a little kid. She was like, take a look at my diary. And, she had this toy diary and it's had a lock on it. And it wasn't a thumb lock. She watch this, open diary. And it went pop. It was like, voice recognition lock technology, $300 million technology for the Air Force 20 years ago. Kids toy today.
Wow. Yeah. I have no idea. I mean, I got hooked on UFOs for a while and went down the rabbit hole with Bob Lazar. He was supposed to work at Area 51. And as far as I can tell, this guy's legit. And so, but I mean, it's not that far fetched to think the military has found crashed alien ships. I mean, and there's got to be aliens. I mean, the universe is
too big,
infinite, quasi infinite. So yeah. And why haven't they come here yet? Somebody's got the technology to jump between stars. So, And
maybe some of our favorite monsters are unique because they're stranded aliens. I've got a story going that the Mothman is a stranded alien who's been here for a few hundred years, and during his time of hiding has run into Edgar Allan Poe and Edgar Rice Burroughs and H.P. Lovecraft because he appeared in all of their stories in some form or another.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, and there's something about the Mothman. I've read the Mothman Prophecies, which is the most bizarre book I think I've ever read in my life. If you get a chance to read that, it is nuts.
And it's it has a chapter of it. The rest of them are all other urban legends and crypto spottings around the country.
Yeah. So something happened in Point Pleasant that freaked. There was too many people saw what was going on for not to be something. Whether it was a military experiment or an actual creature, cryptid or whatever, there was something went down for sure.
So, I'm going to scroll down real quickly here before YouTube knocks us off the air. This is the point where we say Forbidden Museum is a not safe for work comic in places.
Yeah, God forbid seeing a female's body. Oh no, that's horrible. Right. But this is like true, tried and true, like Hammer horror type-esque comic book. You know, we're gonna have minor nudity in it, violence, things that, Dracula. He's gonna rip people's hearts out and stuff. Why wouldn't he? It's Dracula. Come on.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but if your heart's being ripped out, it's kind of behind the stuff that is not going to stay clothed.
Right. So, yeah. Can you scroll by that fast or
like that?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good jump. I don't think there's any other.
I was getting ready to do just that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the fact that there's vampires and boobs. Again, just speaking to the zeitgeist. My good friends. Mandy Summers and Peter, Mandy and Pete, they are doing Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter, where he's hunting in London, and there's lots of boobage in that. So now this is the cover for number 1.
Yeah, that was drawn by Tom Mandrake and colored by a guy named James G. Brown. He's awesome colors. Worked on G.I. Joe, IDW, and stuff. And Tom, like I said, has worked on tons of Marvel comics, DC comics, and he leans towards horror a lot. So yeah.
I loved his Spectre run for DC.
It's so good. And he's a great guy. Tom is a really cool guy.
When it comes to the Spectre as a character, I liked it in the older days because I'm that old. Especially when Jim Aparo was doing the art for Adventure Comics. I think when Tom was having to draw it, the character was being hosted in the body of Jim Corrigan. And when Jim Aparo was doing it, Jim Corrigan was the Spectre. I remember there was, he was working on the police force, and his girlfriend's like, why can't we, do stuff? He's like, do you not see that I'm not even fogging up the glass here because I'm not alive?
I'm dead, woman. I'm dead.
And the only reason I remember that story is because he made this silent prayer. It's like, please, when are you going to lift this curse and let me, move on or be alive again? And his prayer got answered, but, not letting him know that it got answered. So Jim Corrigan walks into a hail of gunfire and gets killed because he was mortal again. It's like,
oh, that's so sadistic.
Yes.
And awesome. Yeah. Very cool.
Why didn't you tell me I was alive?
Damn it. So this is kind of Jonathan Harker, like a sequence of him capturing all the original monsters. If you notice, there's a monster on there that I didn't really talk about very much.
Let's see here. We've got the mummy. We've got the wolf. We're not calling him the Wolfman because I guess that's
wolf beast. Wolf beast. Yeah.
I love werewolf stories too, by the way. My favorite one's called The Wives' Tale. It's a short story I read in college for literature class. And it was all about the wife saying, her point of view saying, hey, he comes home, he doesn't smell right. He leaves at odd hours. I'm sure that something's up, something's very bad. And today I woke up slightly before he did, and I saw him going through this twisted configuration, and his body was changing. And you find out in those last couple of paragraphs that he was changing into a human. The teller of the story was his wolf mate.
That's cool. Nice twist. Oh, hold that thought. I got 2 werewolf books that I'm recommending to your viewers and to you.
Bring them over here. As we look at this page here, to who are we not missing? We've got the Frankenstein monster. We've got the mummy. We've got the.
I love horror. I love horror nerds, and I get a chance to talk to a lot of them right now. So, one of the most awesome books. So, when I was in grammar school, for some reason, they had a book in the library. I'm talking 6th grade. That had a book that taught you how to change into a werewolf. For
nice.
Real, like. The ritual, which involved, strangely enough, involved a lot of opium poppies seeds, so you're probably just hallucinating as you do it. But what a bizarre book to have in the elementary school library. But this was the cover on that book. This is not the exact book. This is a book called The Book of Werewolves.
Nice.
By a guy named Sabine Baring Gould, and the classic work on this dreadful subject. And this is one of the best books on werewolf history, real documented history and fantasy you'll ever read. If you can find that, which is hard to find.
How many stories there?
And this is another one this is a true story of a real werewolf, written by Ed and Lorraine Warren. You know, the Conjuring couple.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a book called Werewolf, and I think they're going to make this into a movie, but it'll probably be jacked up because the movies are way over the top. But this is a guy from Great Britain who was supposedly possessed by a demon wolf. And this guy is actually documented into transforming, not until a full wolf, but changing his facial features to the point where he could fight several men, like 4 or 5 police officers. And this would come on him at weird times. And his wife would like lock him in the rooms, and they did an exorcism on this guy, and it left. It healed him. It stopped.
Wow.
So yeah,
I gotta check that one out now. Especially
it's a spooky book. But the Book of Werewolves and Werewolf is killer werewolf books.
So
but don't read them late at night. Yeah.
No, don't. And what was the one that Bernie Wrightson did all the artwork for? The Stephen King.
The Cycle of the Werewolf.
Okay, yeah, that.
It became Silver. It became Silver Bullet, the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Wrightson did some great werewolf work in there. So I'm looking at basically Rumpelstiltskin down here or something in the corner. I have no idea who that is.
Well, you see in the corner, is that a UFO right there?
Yeah, I do see that now that you mention it. So we're getting some alien activity in here.
So we're getting a little thing that I haven't really put a big microscope on or magnifying glass, but this is this guy's gonna be a factor, plays in too in the series, and he's kind of I don't know. There's been like the Metaluna mutant, this Island Earth, that old movie, kind of inspired by that a little bit.
I got you. I can see the brain structure of it now. That would, if it was standing up and not covering it, it would have stood out a little bit more to me, I think.
Right. Right. So we got surprises. There's surprises within the book.
Very cool. And these are prime evils. Nice separation of the root word there into the new meaning.
Yeah, exactly. And these are pages from issue 1. Because this time around, we had pretty much the first book drawn before we even did the Kickstarter. This time we've got about 5 or 6 pages drawn, and we got to finish the artwork with the money we get from the Kickstarter. So it's expensive to make comic books, even indie comics, pretty pricey.
Now, does Dracula the vampire have all the basic traditional vampire weaknesses? As far as sunlight, crucifixes. Please God, tell me he doesn't sparkle.
No, he doesn't sparkle. There's a twist on that a little bit too. Sunlight does really make him weak and takes away a lot of his powers, but he can take some. He doesn't turn to ash because he gets in the sunlight. But in the other things, crosses don't really affect him very much. But there are other things that I'm going to slowly reveal through the course of the series, because, like I said, he's a black magician. He's a necromancer who became undead. So,
one of my favorite conflicts with Dracula and Faith was an X-Men comic, because Dracula exists in the Marvel universe. I think it was Wolverine who you've got those issues.
I've got the compendium. Yeah, that's a great series. Roy Thomas wrote that series, and it rocks. It rocks. Yeah,
I think it was Wolverine who approached Dracula with the crucifix, and Dracula, it doesn't work if you don't believe in it. And he's attacking him, and he grabs Kitty Pryde by the throat, and of course she's got her Star of David on, and it burns his hand because she did have faith. I'm like, oh, it's not just crucifixes; it's religious symbols that you actually believe in and power.
Yeah, it's I think all religious symbols, he was saying, is just a laser focus it's like a gun in your faith is the bullet, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, if you're a dark magician, I could see that would actually be something that would be some sort of a counter agent to.
Yeah. But just the cross is not going to affect him, but it's the person's life force or energy or belief system.
Yeah. Because otherwise, every 90-degree intersection of two lines is like, I can't go anywhere in this city. The streets keep crossing.
Oh, are you just get a lot of Jewish vampire hunters? Whatever. You know what I'm saying? So or whatever. So yeah, it's a certain religions shouldn't affect. There's other religions in the world besides Christianity. Yeah.
Exactly. Intense Webs, good to see you here, sir. Appreciate you popping in here while we're talking about the Forbidden Museum. And going through the monsters that are going to pop out of this ongoing series from Kickstarter. On Kickstarter, it's not from Kickstarter.
Right.
So here you got your designs. Seeing a lot of the Gill God. I think he's going to be a major player in issue 2.
Yeah, it's called the issue's called the Lost Temple of the Gill God. So predominantly, Dracula always show up and we'll tell a little bit of his story, and there'll be other players, but I'm going to try to focus on a monster every issue or 2 issues. There'll be a total focus point on one monster to those.
So they've all been released. Are they working together, or does Dracula have dominion over them, or are they just I don't know who you guys are, but I'm splitting?
What would happen originally is the guy who blackmailed the partner of Henry Harker, who trapped him in the sarcophagus and left with stuff. Everything was kind of in a prison or in stasis, and he took it and sold it on the black market. So at the beginning of issue 2, some vampire cosplayers at a Halloween ball in New Orleans bought Dracula's coffin off eBay with cryptocurrency. And I've always wanted to see a cosplayer who's playing a vampire meet a real vampire. So this guy opens up the coffin and releases Dracula onto the world. And Dracula's like, what year is it? Where am I at? And then he realizes that the Harker he knew is dead, but he's psychically linked to the Book of the Dead too. So he can kind of hunt down Henry Harker that way. And so he's going to use, but Henry Harker's strong too. He's got the Book of the Dead and he's got the power of the Scarab. So he's going to need other monsters to defeat Henry Harker to take back the book. Okay. So that's kind of the deal.
Now here you got your designs for Dracula. You got the very long-haired character. You don't have the mustache.
No, but he looks more like a ghoul than like a sexy vampire guy. So
that always bugged me about vampires. Is every time Dracula shows up, I'm a bloodthirsty monster. Why are you horny?
Well, people are nuts, man. I just watched a documentary about serial killers, and they have groupies. I saw one on the Night Stalker, and women would show up to his court trial. Groupies. Yeah. So people are attracted to power, I think, is what the deal is.
And there's apparently some power in darkness that attracts people. Stupid Newfie. I don't think you're that stupid. I think you're just new. Says great line from Dusk Till Dawn was Clooney's character saying to Harvey Keitel, "So what are you, Jacob? A faithless preacher or a mean mother servant of God?"
I love Dusk Till Dawn. Is an awesome B vampire movie. That's the kind of movie you can watch over and over again and have fun.
So you got some cards here that are going to be added on, some add-ons, character cards. This is
I thought it'd be a cool way to, on the back of the cards too, it tells a little bit of the trivia and about my version of the monsters. And these were done by my interior artist dad, Rob Archie, who's also a comic book artist. And
I knew that. I've had him on the show.
You've had Rob Archie? No way. No, really?
I had the son.
He's had his son. You've had Luke Archie?
I've had Luke on.
When did you have Luke on?
Oh, I'll have to do a quick search here on my videos. I'll find out.
No way.
Pray continue.
That's awesome, man. That's super cool. We'll have to come on the show and us both, maybe on the next issue or something, and talk to you. I didn't know. That's awesome.
Phoenix, December 23rd, 2020.
That's awesome, dude. Okay, yeah. Luke is such a good artist, man, and his father is too. for sure.
Yeah, I
Family,
remember
talented guys.
work.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's great. He also drew this. There's going to be like a black and white exclusive card for this campaign. So every campaign, I'm going to have an exclusive card come out. And this is the Primevals.
For just a moment here, but this is gorgeous. Keep talking about the series here, because I need to dig something out.
Yeah, thanks everybody for showing up. The Kickstarter campaign started yesterday. We've already raised over $1,000, which is awesome. And it's going to run for 30 days consecutively, and it's going to end on March 28th, which I think is a Monday at midnight. And anybody that showed up, we were giving away a free Dracula pin for first day backers. And if you back and say, I saw Critical Blast, Craig on Critical Blast, somewhere in the checkout, or email me at info@skulldustpress@gmail.com, I'll give you a pin with your print. You gotta back a print tier though, not a digital tier. It's got to be at least a print tier. So.
Okay. So Craig, one of the things that I always do, I frequently do on these programs, is I spend other people's money. I'll see things that they're doing. I'm like, oh, you have to do this. And frequently they'll say, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that. And I'm like, I did something today. This design right here, I have recently received my Confederate moniker, and it came with this jersey, black print on a black and white jersey. I'm thinking, you absolutely have to get this on a black and white jersey. It's just too cool looking. I think you froze up. You are freezing up. But obviously put the logo on it too. But Craig, I think you froze. I'll show the next picture here. I think this is another. Yeah, this is the #1 variant, the naked cover, which just means there's no logo on it, folks. This is very sweet. This is from Gabriel Dell'Otto. Just the colors on this are fantastic, and the expression on that mummy's face.
You're pausing a little bit.
Yeah, you too.
The feed's breaking up.
Okay, chat, tell us which one of us is breaking up to you guys. I think it's his end. It was breaking up from you to me, and I'm sure it was breaking up from me to you as well. But I was saying that needs to be a jersey. Put the logo on it, and then I started showing Gabriel's artwork here for the mummy variant cover, #1. And this is the Invisible Man. Yes. Also by Gabriel Dell'Otto, and this is going to be it's another #1 variant. So there's a lot of variants you can pick from here. There's the Dracula head pin. You did do it. You're frozen, but I am looking at. I've got the YouTube pulled up. I'm not frozen. I'm going through to YouTube. I'm afraid it's something with your phone connection there, Craig, because you're frozen on the playback as well over here. Might need to drop off, pop back in.
Let me go back.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll keep scrolling through here until you pop out and pop in. You do have the black and white version of this as a print, limited to 100. You're back.
I'm back. I went back through again. So
yeah, you're much smoother now. I've got the YouTube pulled up on my phone, and I could tell that it was you, the one frozen up. Yeah, I scrolled past it. I'm like, look at that. He already has the shirt. So obviously, it's a great idea to put him on the shirt.
Yeah, I'll get you one. I'll figure out how to get you one for sure.
You don't have to do that, but I do appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely a pin too.
I was scrolling past Gabriel Dell'Otto's work here. This is some gorgeous stuff.
There's a reason why he's one of the most popular comic book artists working today. So how this came to be is a company that did exclusives on the internet called Spectral Comics hit me up, and they had this art, and they said my comic book fit the art perfectly, and their art fit this perfectly. So we partnered up, and they did a run of 250 of these exclusives by Gabriel Delato, which helped my cause tremendously, you know. And then they gave me a stack of them as part of the payment for using my comic, and so I put them right on I put them right on my Kickstarter campaign. So
why wouldn't you? That's fantastic.
Right.
Here's the pin. You can get the scope of size there. That's cool. The T-shirts, and then the print of cover number 2 as a black and white. That's 8x10, so that'll you can frame that easily enough. And you've got the Curse of the Curator. This looks more penciled here. So is it going to stay penciled, or is it going to be an inked version?
I kind of thought he looked kind of cool, like frameable as pencil. This is a guy called Terry Wolfinger. I don't know if you know much about this guy, but he does some beautiful, cool name. Look up his website, Terry. Let's Google Terry Wolfinger. He does some amazing monster paintings and drawings, and like he's a highly sought after horror artist, and he does a lot of album covers and stuff. He's a really talented guy in this area. I'm trying to like align myself with as many kick-ass artists as known for horror in the industry, and so far so good. People's been willing to work with us.
So I didn't see the tiers with dollar values on the left, so I'm going to go back over here to the right real quick so people can figure out what they can buy here. You can get the print version of number 1 for only $12. Wow. And with that, you're going to get the trading card surprise, classic monster trading card, and the PDF. That's a hell of a deal. I don't know how you're making money on that, but
well, the reason I wanted to make it affordable because gas prices and everything are going through the roof. I have issue 1's art already completed, so there's not a lot of cost, and except for the printing, and the mailing of that. So I thought for issue 1, it would be a fair price to do $12 since I don't have to pay the artists for issue 1, and that's why issue 2 is more money. So because I got to finish the art on that one, so I try to give people a fair shake on stuff and build like a fan base, because I really think if you get hooked on this story, you're gonna love going on adventures with Henry Harker in the Forbidden Museum. You're really gonna love it.
How many pages are you looking at in an issue? I mean, what are they getting for the money there?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
How many pages in a book?
So anywhere from like 22 to 26 pages in a standard comic book. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, especially for crowdfunding, it's a great deal. I mean, you're paying $6 for Batman right now. You're going to get more story out of this. Nobody's eating dinner throughout the book except Dracula, which is but when he does it, it's cool.
Yeah, of course. So he's got to have his blood.
$15, you get issue number 2. $25, just add them up. You get 1 and 2, as well as the 2 classic trading card for the monsters. And you get the 8x10 Gill God print by Puis Calzada.
Correct.
I said that correctly too. The more beer I drink, the more Mexican I can speak.
Your tongue's loosening up. Yeah.
$60. This is the Print Creature River God package. So you get 2 copies of number 1, 2 copies of number 2, 3 trading cards, the Dracula head pin, and the 8x10. So you get if you're a classic horror monster fan, Brian Christgau, if you're watching, I know that this is where you want to be. Nikki would like to know, are you a Monster Squad over a Goonies fan?
I watched Monster Squad again not too long ago because there's not too many different versions of these classic monsters in film. So I went back and watched it. I thought Monster Squad was hilarious, but it's a little dated, but the monsters are great. I really like the monsters in it. Goonies to me is a little better of a movie overall, I think, but Monster Squad, I enjoyed watching it, but Goonies is classic.
Hey, you guys stands out more than Wolfman Has Nards.
But Monster Squad is funny, but as a kid, I liked it a lot more than my last watching. But the monsters look cool, for sure.
$70, you get the variant Delato Invisible tier.
The Invisible Man.
Because it's going to be a very limited. It's only 250. I knew it was there somewhere. I just had to find it.
And they each come with their own card that represents what number out of that 250 it is. So
so nice. So it's not just limited; it's numbered and limited. You know which
it's
one.
Numbered and limited. Correct.
That definitely makes it collectible. Same thing for the Mummy tier with that beautiful gold paint on the cover. Not reflective foil. It's just it looks like it's a photograph of a gold sarcophagus.
It's what they call a naked cover. It's a naked cover. Yeah.
But if we don't throw the logo on there, it's either naked or virgin. We make our art so sexual.
Or naked virgins. I don't know. I mean, and there'll be some virgins sacrificed at some point in this series, I'm sure. So,
which, they're worth a lot more these days, just out of rarity. What was it? The preacher was talking about promiscuity in the world, and he's like, I dare any woman any female in the congregation who's still a virgin to stand up. And one lady stands up, she's holding her baby. He's like, I don't think you understood. She's like, well, she's only 2 months old. You want her to stand on her own?
Classic. And I didn't do any stretch goals. I don't know. I find stretch goals are kind of gimmicky sometimes, and it's just like I want people to go in here, simply see what they want, what tier they want, and back it. And it's what it is. Maybe I'll do that in the future, but it's what it is. I also Kickstarter's been great. I also me and some friends made a board game and Kickstarted it a couple of years ago too. It's a sci-fi board game. Yeah.
See, board games is where the money's supposedly at.
Board game. Yeah, board game. We did make more money, but it costs a lot to make a board game. If you're making plastic pieces and stuff like that, it went really well. We succeeded, and we're going to go back to Kickstarter. It's called, if anybody loves board games and sci-fi, our game is called Escape from Dulce. So you're trapped in the bottom of an underground military base run by aliens, and you play an escapee from the cryo tubes underneath the base, and the game itself is 3-dimensional as you go up. And you have an RPG character sheet, file folders. You can be a 2-headed cow with machine guns, or Amelia Earhart, or an alien that can turn sides. And we're coming back to Kickstarter for that, hopefully in the summertime. But it's called Sentient Cow Games is the game company that we started. And that's my other. I love games too. I love RPGs. I grew up playing D&D, so those are all cool. But now, So, but lately I've been writing so much. I try to write. Do you write every day?
Oh, I've not, because I started another company. I ran through this whole list of companies at the beginning of the show as kind of a joke, but I told you I spend other people's money on these shows,
right?
Like suggesting prints and T-shirts and such. When I started talking with people in the UK and Australia, they were doing all these great books, and the shipping was killing them because the American audience is the largest audience. I was like, well, what you need to do, and I stopped and I'm like, no, what I need to do is set up a logistics company. So now we get other people's comics and we package them up and ship them out within the United States. So we've been doing that for a lot of foreign imports. A lot of people already in the United States started contacting us. I'm like, I don't save you any money. They're like, I don't care. I don't want to do it. Like,
so you're basically like a diamond distributor for independent comics?
Yeah, for independent comics. I distribute them directly to the buyers. If the buyers are retailers, great. We do make them available. Whatever's overstock, we make them available to retailers.
Do you make that relationship with the retailers yourself? Do you foster that relationship with the retailers? Or
with a couple of retailers. Right now, I've got contact with 2,500 of them. I just haven't taken advantage of it yet because the catalog of overstock is not big enough yet for me to say, okay, now launch it. I've run the catalog through, 4 or 5 different retailers right now that I know. I'm like, hey, can you give me feedback? Does this look right? Would you order from this if you, got it? And so there's that. But that's like the next phase of the logistics process. right now it's just, I get the raw books, the stretch goals, and the Indiegogo or Kickstarter CSV files, and they're like, go at it. And I told you I have 35 years in the IT industry before we went to the show as a database analyst. So I take the Kickstarter CSVs, I run them through a SQL Server process that I've written that pretty much turns them into a silo of items and then into a row of items. So I get one row per backer, whether they back 7 times, or whether they back through on 20 add-ons. I get every item across. I sort those so that, maybe 10 people ended up with all the same items, but different ways. Well, I don't care. I just have, here's a set called A, and it's always going to have this, this, and this in it. Because I'm sure that a lot of people who fulfill, they get their CSV file. What'd the first guy get? Make one of those, put it in a box, label it, send it out. I don't do that. I'm like, make 20 of these, mark them as A. Make 30 of these, mark them as B. Print all the labels with the A's and the B's and the rubber stamp. And I'm just like, this label goes on an A, this label goes on a B. I don't care what their name is. I don't care what year they back, how much they spent. And it allows me to turn around real quick with a batch.
Well, probably we may talk in the future. The bigger these get, which they're getting bigger every time I do one, eventually I won't be able to, be licking stamps myself pretty soon. It's going to be too much to do.
Yeah,
so
right.
Yeah. So, but that's what I want to do. I want to grow. So, don't bitch about getting bigger. Right.
Yeah. God bless me with tax problems.
Right.
So the last year you got on here is $500, and it's worth it because it's this original Tom Mandrake art, this cover.
Yeah, it's not like and it's not only the art. You're getting all the comics, and you're getting all the tiers. Basically, it's like the mega tier that comes with it.
That's a very, very sweet deal there. I'm sure somebody's going to jump in on that if they haven't already. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody backed tonight, Greg.
Well, they don't have to do it right now. Maybe they're doing other things and thinking about it. But look, this is only the first day. We've got 29 more days to check this out. 29 more days,
and you're at a third of the goal. So that's nothing to sneeze at. Being 1/3 of the way done on day one. I know with Kickstarter, Indiegogo is a different beast than Kickstarter because, and I prefer it as a customer because I'm like, hey, $25 for the book, here's $25, and they take it right then. Kickstarter is more of a hey, here's $25, and then it's always out of my PayPal. And what I do is I look at PayPal. I'm like, oh, I have $30 to get lunch. I'll go do that. And then Kickstarter says, where's that $25 you said we could have? Like, I gave it to you 3 weeks ago. No, we're just getting it now. So for me, I put reminders on my calendar that says, hey, this Kickstarter is tomorrow.
Has more eyes on it. It's got a more like it's the McDonald's of funding, and I feel like you get more eyes on it. But you're right. I usually have to set my goal just for the overhead because you want to hit. And then if you go, at least you can make the book and get it out. If it goes over, then you're making profit. But I set it at the bare minimum to make sure all my overheads reached without making any profit for myself. If we go over, great. Yeah,
we definitely want you to go over here. I know what a lot of people will do, and there's different ways of doing it, but they'll go Kickstarter for 30 days, and then they'll put it over to the Indiegogo for the 30 plus in demand because now you've got an online store for just that issue through Indiegogo. Even after funding. And Kara Nicole does, her horror book, cosplay covers and all that. She'll do it on Kickstarter. Not only does she then do it on Indiegogo after, but there's a mechanism between the two companies where you can roll the money from Kickstarter to Indiegogo.
Oh, wow.
So immediately, she sets her Indiegogo for like $500, drops in $35,000 from her Kickstarter, and you're instantly at 7,000% of your goal, which makes the algorithm go nuts. It throws it onto the front page. It starts pushing it to people.
That's actually a really clever idea. That's actually really clever. Yeah,
she's a very smart and canny businesswoman when it comes to marketing and her cosplay material. So I pass those lessons along to anybody that I think wants to hear them.
Yeah, for sure. And have you ever heard anybody like kickstarting a novel or Indiegogo or a Kickstarter? I looked up a few today, but I didn't see that a lot though.
Not only have I heard of it, but we're going to be doing it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because our last anthology that we published was The Devil You Know, which was a series of 20 short stories of people encountering the devil for contracts or coffee or whatever have you. Some of it was comedy, some was science fiction, some was your classic folk tale. It did so well. We're doing The Devil You Know Better. We're reading through the end of March. We've got a lot of stories. And we're publishing either way, but what we're going to do is we're going to Indiegogo crowdfund a special edition, a signed special edition, because we're going to have Mike Barron and Hart D. Fisher both contributing stories to this. So we're going to, have signature cards. I'm going to mail them to the guys, and they'll sign them both and then send them back. And it'll be limited to however many get backed. And it's just kind of to offset the cost of the actual publishing, because publishing is expensive.
Oh yeah, for sure. Getting the cover art done and stuff like that. I just finished, like I told you, I finished a short novel a couple of months ago. It's out to a few publishers, but if it doesn't get picked up, I got a pretty good following on Kickstarter. Maybe I'll just do it myself.
There you go. Yeah. And we get covers done from folks we've met on Fiverr and other places. This is the
That's
cover
cool.
already. The Devil You Know Better. I just told him, hey, take the one that you had and where he was holding the contract, put two fingers up. I think that would just fill out just right.
Oh, it's great. It's awesome. I want a copy.
As soon as we get him available, should be ready to go in July. I mean, we got some editors going over the submissions that are making my life easier, because I'm like, you read them first, and then they're like, don't even bother with this one, or yeah, this one's really good. I'm like, well, he said yes, I trust him. It's going in the yes pile. Then I've got to read them all anyway in format, and it gets more expensive when you screw up the editor process and you print, and then you got to go back and print again.
When do you sleep, man?
Between the hours of 1 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Because I'm saying, you got so many projects. Good Lord, you sound like me. Like, I can never be like still. I got to start this, start that. I got a novel, writing a screenplay, building dioramas, put them on Etsy, directing a short film, writing comic books. But I love it. I love staying busy.
I'm here to accomplish so many things. Right now, I'm so far behind, I'll never die. That's as long as there's something that has to be done tomorrow, you'll wake up for it. As soon as you're done with everything, you give up.
Exactly. Maybe, yeah.
Right,
well, let me run. I was going to say one more time. So the Kickstarter campaign runs until March the 28th, which I think is a Monday. We end at midnight. And anybody watching or watch this podcast in the next week, if you back and say, I saw you on Critical Blast, you'll get a free Dracula pin. So
thank you so much. You heard the man, guys, but get out there and tell him where you saw him. And actually share this video to your friends, because, my friends aren't your friends. Your friends are different than mine, and they might want to see this thing. So kick it out with them.
Definitely.
Craig, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight and going through the forbidden with us. You've got 30 days, get closer to the end of the show, come back. I'd missed out on my Halloween episode this year. Last year we did the Halloween episode for the LCS guys. Every 2 weeks we have local comic shop owners come on the show and we talk about the business.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was in a basement, and I just turned out all the lights before the show started, put the little flashlight under me and said, did my best Boris Karloff.
Hey, I thought I saw on your, I was going to bring this up. I saw on your site, there's a charity for comics for kids. Was it you talking about that?
Yes.
What's the deal with that?
Okay, so I'm so glad you brought that up, because I love this charity. Comicbooksforkids.org, also shorthand CB4K.org, is run by Mark Weiss, and it's a charity that does exactly what it says. It takes comic books that are donated and puts them into the hands of kids who are in hospitals or cancer centers. And, if the book is, more mature for a child, they've spun off and also done comic books for troops. So, you don't have to sit there and say, well, I wonder if they'll take this or not. He gets tons of comic book donations in. They're sending them over to 150 hospitals around the country right now.
Whoa, okay.
Worldwide. The thing is that he's got publishers like, big indie publishers. They're like, yeah, you can definitely have the overstock we've got of this issue because it's getting ready to be pulped, donated in. He's got to pay for the shipping to get the books in. And then he's got to pay for the shipping to get the books out. So he's got it coming and going on both ends. So yeah, we had them on the show 2 weeks ago, and then just a couple of nights ago, we on 2/22/22, which was National Comic Books for Kids Day, sort of like their first time trying it. They've been around for 8 years or more. We did an original art auction and some signature auctions. We raised about $300 through that went directly to them. I'm like, I'm a very transparent person when it comes to money that's not mine passing through my hands. So I'm like, we kept track online. It's like, here's how much got paid. Yep, it all came in. Here's the PayPal page. Watch me transfer it over. The only thing I took the page down for was when it was asking for my password into PayPal. I'm like, yeah, no, you don't need to see that. But now we're back up. Yes, here goes the money. See, it's gone.
Yeah, I thought it was a great charity, and I wanted to do something with it. Forbidden Museum is a little too adult, I think, to donate. I wanted to donate some comics to kids. I think it's a little too adult for them. But in the future, though, if I do a more of a kid-friendly comic book, I'd like to find out more about that. I think that's an awesome charity, man. Super awesome.
Oh, we're going on and on and on here, but kid-friendly monster comic books. I would heartily recommend to you Glenn in Monsterland by Kevin Philpott.
Okay.
The artwork is by I can't remember her name now, but you see the print was right there in front of my computer.
Oh, that's cool.
She's a witch. She lives in this world where the tyrant king runs everything. Her witch mentor is taking her in front of him in issue 1 because everyone who's magical has to audition in front of the king. Because if there's any good found in you, well, he knows how this story goes. Good people topple tyrants. So if he finds out you got a little bit of good, you're going in the dungeon. He found good. She went in the dungeon. And the dungeon is populated by other teenage/children monsters, like a vampire who won't drink other people's blood. A haughty little Lord Fauntleroy kind of character who's a snot, but he's also a werewolf. Problem is, he's a young boy, so when he turns into a werewolf, he turns into a little werepup that just likes to lick your face and prance
That's
around.
Hilarious.
So yeah, all the classic monsters are there. They're just like
And where can you get this comic?
Well, you will be able to get it through me again because Kevin's going to send some more copies. He's going to he's doing a Kickstarter now. He did Indiegogo with it. We sold out of all the copies we had.
Nice. Okay. Well, let me know and I'll blast it on my channels. I have tons of horror fans and I think they would dig that. So I'm all for promoting other indie creators for sure.
It's beautifully done too. I kept telling him, send this to Mattel. This is a toy line.
Oh yeah. Oh, do you remember the old what was it called? It was like the monster case that came out and they had Dracula and the Creature in the Black Lagoon and like it was like a monster playset. Remco. I think Remco made it. The Remco toy. And it was like a little suitcase, but it unfolded to like Frankenstein's laboratory and then it came with like a figure of Dracula, a plastic figure and like
the 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah. Super cool. Like I had it.
You had it?
I had it. I wish I still had it.
Past tense. I hate past tense when it comes to cool stuff.
Well, dude, I'm so glad Steven Crypto show was correct. We hit it off. I always say I'm going to keep this down to 45 minutes. And I feel like I could talk to you till like all night. My girlfriend's going to kill me if I don't get off here and let's find some food pretty soon. So, but I'm in the same boat because
in my private stream, I've got a client waiting for the last 25 minutes to talk about distribution of his book. I'm like, I got it here. Let's go over the date. He's like, okay. I'm like, yeah, I'll be done at 8:00 my time.
Well, it feels like we're old friends. So it feels like we just quit talking. Like, we just picked right back up again. So this has been a pleasure, man. And I really appreciate you bringing me on and talking about Forbidden Museum.
Anytime, and please do come back before the campaign's over with so we can talk some more about it. Folks in the chat, thank you so much for showing up. As always, we don't have a show without you, so we need you here just as much as I need the guests here. And as always, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good night, everybody.